So welcome to the first of these events. So listen up, pictures, and it's the first one we've done. And I know a few of you, but I'm Simon from Incline Labs, so I'm one of the co-hosts, along with Dan Akers, who is also on the line. So just really quickly to kind of put a bit of context as to why we're doing this event. A few of you probably already know that Dan and I have run a lot of events in the past, but they're all actual events in real life where people meet up. And obviously we had one coming up relatively soon, one of our more popular ones, that's had to be cancelled for obvious reasons. So we decided, well, actually, let's see if everyone's using Zoom and everyone's having to work remotely. So let's try and do an event that is using the technology that everyone's having to get used to using. And with Incline, we actually do a lot of work with entrepreneurs who are looking to raise money to help them prepare to raise money and also to prepare to pitch in front of investors. So it just seemed like a good fit to actually be doing a pitching event online. Dan, do you want to say a bit about yourself and Startling?
Yeah, no worries. So as Simon says, I've worked with Simon on and off about over 10 years now. My current company is Startling, so we work again with entrepreneurs, but also some kind of larger businesses. On the entrepreneur side, I produce specifications for entrepreneurs to basically formulate their ideas, kind of get them to the best place so they can take them forward to hopefully go and get investment for them. I've done lots and lots of that, both through public events and just generally for the last kind of 4 or 5 years as part of Lightstart. So we've done a few pitching events in the past, but we've something that we quite like about this as an idea is it's a little bit more open. It's a little bit more kind of leveling the playing field, I think is the best way to say it, because there's a lot of kind of us and them. If you have panels kind of going at waiting to kind of receive information from people and judge whether or not it's good or not. What we want to do is make something that's a little bit more open. So in terms of the format for today, what we're going to do, and like I said, this is the first one, so the potential for something to go horrifyingly wrong is obviously super. It's about this higher than the screen. But the format is going to be, we've got pitches that will be about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more long. After each pitch, we're going to unmute and we're going to open it up for Q&A, so people can ask as many questions as they want. The idea is not for people to dive straight in and be dicks. So the idea is basically not for people to dive straight in and go, that's a shit idea. That's the worst idea I've ever heard. I'll tell you why. That's not what it's about. Everyone who's pitching and comes to these events, they're putting themselves out there, and we want people to feel comfortable to come along and put themselves out there for without fear of having their idea ripped to bits. So it's more going to be Q&A. Just ask questions, find out kind of more information, find out the background of things. We'll do that first for another 10-15 minutes or so. And then if people want to get follow-up after the event, we will have the contact details of the people who've been pitching if you want to talk to them, or they might just chuck their credentials out there anyway if you want to go through. So I think that's probably most of it. We have today pitching, we have Philip Mercer. Hi Christian, how you doing? And we have Leon, who is not here right now.
Yeah, I think we had a bit of an issue with Zoom links and times and passwords and stuff. I think he's got the other one. So whilst Christian kicks off, I'm going to make sure Leon can get on. One thing to say is we are recording this. Zoom has the ability to record it. So I know a few people have said they can't make it and they'd be interested in watching it back. So we will record it. So if anybody doesn't want to be on it, obviously you can take your face off, turn the camera off if you're sat in your pajamas or whatever, and you don't want to be on the recording. Don't know what we'll do with it. Probably put it on YouTube or something for anyone that wants to see it afterwards. So I suppose to start with, I'll unmute you, Christian, and let you crack on if that's all right.
Hello. Okay, this is a little. It feels a little bit bizarre, but it shouldn't be that much different from doing a regular pitch, all being well. So I'm Christian Mercer. I'm originally from Leeds, and I founded and the CEO of a brand called Positive Plus One. So I'll give you a bit of just my normal pitch, if that works. Simon, you want me to start now? Or?
Yeah, go for it. Just jump in.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Positive Plus One is a social app for people living with HIV. 4 years ago, a friend of mine disclosed to me that he was now living with HIV. Whilst offering help where I could, it became clear that there was a clear need for a service of this kind, and thus Positive Plus One was born. Now, I'm going to start by asking you all a question, just to sort of get you into the mindset. If you were diagnosed with HIV, how would you disclose your status? The truth is, most of you wouldn't, due to the fear of stigma and the fear of rejection. And the general rule tends to be that it's best not to tell somebody, as you can never untell somebody. But the idea behind Positive Plus One is to be able to change that. I mean, meeting people at the best of times in the dating world is hard enough. Never mind if you try to disclose you're living with HIV as well. So our solution is to build an app that connects the HIV community locally and globally, providing a safe and secure environment where disclosure isn't even on the agenda. In terms of why now is a good time, UNAIDS are working towards a campaign which is called the 90-90-90 campaign. So by 2020, this year, they would like 90% of all people living with HIV to know their status. To give you a figure, around 18% of the overall HIV community globally do not know that they are living with HIV. Another figure that they want to try and achieve is that 90% of all people diagnosed with HIV are on sustainable antiretroviral therapy, which is the tablet medication that suppresses the virus. And finally, the 90% of all people receiving antiretroviral therapy will have reached viral suppression. This basically means that if you are on medication for a prolonged amount of time and you've got it all under control, you can suppress the virus so much so that you're able to basically live with HIV and have no other adverse effects onto your lifestyle whatsoever. Which includes, if you were to go for a HIV test, you would test negative. You would also be able to sleep with other people unprotected and not transmit the virus into that person. So massive waves in terms of what we're trying to achieve. Now, from a validation point of view, obviously bear this in mind that I'm sort of pitching to you guys as investors. So we launched a white label product to test and validate the marketplace. This was very much a bootstrapped strategy. We launched the platform. We organically achieved just over 4,000 users in just around 4 months' time. Our average engagement was somewhere between 600 to 900 monthly active users, so just shy of 25% coming back onto the platform month in, month out. And we were converting roughly around sort of 1% of those. It was a very basic platform that we launched, but it was solely designed just to test and validate the marketplace. We uncovered that our mass market and the majority of our users were from the US, closely followed by the UK, and then the South Americas and different parts of Europe and obviously in Africa as well. Okay, so in terms of the market potential, our market size, currently there are 40 million people worldwide living with HIV. 21.7 million of those are on antiretroviral therapy. What that kind of means to you guys looking in is that 21.7 million people out of that community are living with this sort of a relatively westernized part of the world where they have access to things like the medications to be able to suppress the virus. In turn, we're taking that on board as though if they've got access to those kind of facilities, they're also going to be able to have access to things like internet and more smartphones, that kind of thing. Now, the marketplace is still growing for us. The community is still growing. So in the last 3 years, roughly 5.3 million people have been newly diagnosed with HIV. So it is still a massively growing problem. But with the thanks to pharmaceutical advancements, we're seeing a 51% decrease in AIDS-related deaths, which is there was a high back in 2004 of 1.9 million people dying through AIDS and HIV at that time. So ultimately, to summarize, our marketplace is still growing. There's more and more people gaining access to the pharmaceutical drugs, which in turn means that the community is living full, long, happy, healthy lives. And our marketplace is still ever growing. So I don't know if you guys can see the deck, but basically, from our competitive advantages, there's three sort of key things that I tend to focus on. Superior safety, obviously, at the heart of what we do. Everything is surrounded and is built around making the user feel safe and secure about disclosing their status openly. You obviously be within their community, but it's all about them feeling safe and secure as possible. We are the first to market in terms of sort of a brand of our kind, and in terms of how we approach our business model. So a big part of our business model is that we give back to the charities that support the HIV community. So basically what this means is that at least sort of 10% of our profits generated, we donate back to the charities and trusts that support the HIV community, be it sort of the face-to-face kind of group sessions, that kind of thing. They do a great job of that. In turn, and in return for that donation, the charities almost internally push us and promote us to their service users, our target market, which also adds credibility to our brand off the back of these long-established organisations. And finally, just to sort of make the app a little bit more engaging, we're looking to build in machine learning, which will ultimately mean that if you're constantly liking a brunette individual at the height of 5'7" to 5'9", those are the kind of people that it will recognize, and it will start to bring those up to the top of the profile stack for you first. So you're seeing people that you like more much sooner. Okay, there is a brand positioning grid on here as well, but ultimately it just shows you how we differ from other sort of HIV related sort of dating platforms, that kind of thing. Majority of which are websites, web platforms. There was one other dating app called HZone. They didn't focus on their security and their cybersecurity. Unfortunately, they got hacked. So we touch more into the app world. We touch more into the social community side of things. And we're moving more into a social network than being solely just a dating app.
Christian, sorry to interrupt. Did you want to share your screen?
Maybe. Yes, I can do.
You can share.
Share.
It's entirely up to you.
It doesn't matter to me. Let's have a look. Second. Desktop. Let's have a look. See if it works. Okay, that's not done anything for me. Okay. Okay, I'll leave that for now. But look, I'm happy for you guys. I'll send the deck on for you guys if you wanna have a look at it as well, and you can have a read through yourselves. Okay, so just in terms of our revenue model, I'll keep this pretty brief. So we're aiming to penetrate 2% of our market, so 2% of the 40 million people worldwide, which equates to 800,000 users. Fortunately, through the connections that we've made with a number of the charities in the HIV community, one of which has already said that once we've got our new platform live, they will be happy to promote us internally to their 20.7 million service users. These are the biggest digital HIV charity around the world. So that's a massive factor for us. So we're hoping out of that 20.7 million, 800,000 users would be quite conservative. Based upon what we know from other sort of big dating platforms, likes of Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, those kind of apps, they tend to achieve around 10% of their user base subscribing and becoming paying members at any one time. This is a consistent 10%, because one person who may purchase or sign up to paid features in month one might choose a 3-month option, But then during month 2, there may be someone else, that a new member that signs up or decides that they want to then become a paying member, and they ultimately, the transition is, it's ever ongoing. Your 10% is consistent in terms of what we're looking to achieve from paying members. We've got 3 monthly options that you can choose from. There's an $8.99 per month option, which unlocks all the features. Then there's a 3 monthly option and a 6 monthly option. It drops down to $7.99 a month for 3 months, per month, and then it drops down to $6.99 for 6 months per month. And it gives you a breakdown there in terms of what that will generate in terms of revenue, and then you'll be able to work out from that how much we'll be looking to donate to the charities that support us as well. Okay, so to give you an idea of the app, obviously I mentioned paid features, but a lot of what we offer is completely free. So you download the app for free, you can sign up, join the community for free, you can connect to members completely for free, you can chat, you'll be able to find events, and there's a lot of things built in there that we functionally spec'd out with Startling, actually, with Incline.
Do you want me to share the wireframes? Because I've got the wireframes up, if I can share the app.
Yeah, fine, fire away, no problem.
All right, cool, hang on a sec. So can you guys see the app screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to, if there's anything you want me to talk through, or I can whiz straight into the standard internet?
Yeah, just whiz straight through to the platform.
Okay, so we've got mobile sign up, number verification, so on age verification, hang on, get started on this, and it's looking a bit Wifi. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, some of the buttons have changed on that old link.
It's been shared with a giant. This doesn't happen in normal events. A giant bumblebee is just flying in behind me. That doesn't normally happen. Like the biggest bumblebee in the entire world. Hey. Woo! Okay, extreme. Hold on. I'll tell you what. I'll just skip straight into the landing page and just check it's what it is. Hold on. Can you even hear that giant bumblebee? Okay. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
You can still see that. Okay. So this is the standard dating style interface in terms of reject and matching and things like that, and messaging.
Ruby. Okay.
You guys carry on.
Okay, so obviously you get quite a lot from a free member point of view, a free part of the community point of view. There is you've got your core sort of subscription things that Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all the regular dating apps tend to use. Their core features, being able to see a short list of people who've already liked your profile, being able to rewind if you skip past somebody. That you think, oh God, that was maybe a little bit hasty there, and I've skipped past the profile, so you'll be able to rewind and go back to that person. But there are 2 sort of real key features that are innovative, that's set as aside from anybody else. These are in-app calls and video calls. Ultimately, what this means from a user, especially somebody from the HIV community who's disclosing their status and being quite open already. By being able to do an in-app telephone call or a video call, they're able to communicate with the person that they've been chatting with over Messenger, but without having to give away their telephone number. It also means that prior to meeting somebody, let's say out in an open space, if you can video call. We do put a lot of verification points in there. What we skip through there is very similar to what we use for the new sort of modern banking cybersecurity standard, in terms of like biometric face scanning. But ultimately, you're able to do a video call and have a look at the person you're going to go and meet on a date. There was a couple of horror stories from when I went and sat in a lot of support group meetings with members of the HIV community, where they said on dating platforms that they were looking at Brad Pitt, and when they got to the actual date, Jeremy Corbyn had turned up. So we're changing that by enabling people to be able to video chat as well. And finally, an event matcher. Dan, I think you should be able to crack on, just go on to events on there, but you'll be able to see there's a little toggle So rather than just being able to discover new people, you're also able to discover local events and national events. Basically, what this means and what we're trying to do here is when people become diagnosed and get diagnosed with HIV, a lot of people tend to become a recluse. So what we're trying to do is not only connect them with like-minded people who share a similar story, but we're also trying to reconnect them with society as well. So by adding events in there, if one of your matches has also liked an event that's showcased on the app, and you'll be able to see that, and it will give you a prompt that will say, why don't you go together? Why don't you go as a +1 kind of thing? So that's a real sort of key feature that we hope will make a big impact. There's a slide here on our marketing approach. I would imagine most of you guys have heard of World AIDS Day. Like this HIV testing week, obviously a lot of the Pride events. A figure that actually might surprise quite a lot of you, which I think is a common misconception, is that the majority of the HIV community are gay guys. That's not actually the case. The majority of the HIV community are heterosexual people, 56%. So from a marketing point of view, we're not just targeting the LGBTQ community. We are sort of, we're not discriminating in that way, much like HIV doesn't discriminate. Okay. There's another slide here which basically touches on our management team. I've got a CTO, CFO, and a head of marketing, and myself. But really, the advisory board that I've put together, pieced together, is where the real value is. So we've got 2 CEOs from the biggest HIV charities, one in the UK, one globally, on our advisory board. As you can imagine, having these 2 people on board really opens up a lot of doors for us in the community. There's another lady called Robin Exton who owns an app called Her, and she's the founder of this. It's based in San Francisco. It's an app designed with a sort of a social community aspect for the lesbian and queer community, and they do a lot of sort of social things as well as having that dating element. And then there's 2 of the chaps, one from the UK, one from LA, who are both on sort of senior commissioner on the boards of all things HIV when it comes to sort of governmental bodies. Obviously, having those guys on board and seeing what sort of government's plans are and the doors that they can open for us is a massive benefit as well. And finally, how I would finish sort of this pitch would be we're looking to raise £300,000 investment. This will help us to develop paid features within the app and fully develop our bespoke app. This will also help us fund a marketing budget and create brand awareness and scale globally effectively. To give you an idea from exit potential, the average dating site sells for somewhere between 6 to 8 times their multiple or EBITDA. Social networks tend to sell for somewhere between 10 to 15 times their EBITDA or multiple. And then there's a couple of examples of similar sort of platforms that have been acquired and exited on there as well. But ultimately, that's the end of it. I hope you took a little bit from that. If you've got any questions, by all means, stick them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer anything. But yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Christian. So does anybody have any questions? You might have to put your hand up and then we can unmute you. Oh, hello, Nick. Yes, go for it. Hi, Nick. Oh, we can't hear you, Nick. Are you muted?
I was muted.
There we go.
Hi, it's a quick question just for Christian. So I'm building my own dating app as well. So it'd be great to hear your thoughts. Maybe just the 2 of us afterwards, hear about your various pain points.
Yeah, fine. I'll pop my email in the chat so you can all grab that and you can email me if you like.
Perfect. So just a quick question. I saw that you did the mobile phone verification for the app. Why did you decide to include that?
As I said, we're trying to include as many sort of verification points as possible to try, but also whilst trying to keep it as fluid as possible. Obviously, one unfortunate thing is about this community and some of the stories that I've heard of when I went to lots of the support group meetings was that from time to time, there are people who use platforms like this to almost try and blackmail, maybe members of family or friends or people they're acquainted with. Obviously, we want to completely tackle that head on. So by adding verification points, like we've got mobile telephone verification, we've got then email verification, then we've got what most of you might have seen nowadays, where you upload a selfie with, say, one hand in the air, and then we'll also ask you for a picture of your identification, which then we manually check again. So your picture of your passport, your driving license, whatever it may be, will also be uploaded into to us. We can then cross-check to make sure that is a legitimate person. It's the person that's trying to join. Obviously, in turn, if they're still that adamant that they want to go on and try and use this platform for blackmail, whatever it may be, we've got their details. We can report it to the local authorities. But mobile verification, really, it seems to be the industry standard as well. It seems pretty simple to implement. You enter your telephone number, send you out an automated code, and you just input that, and that's just a way of verifying a person, that extra step, really.
Yeah, it makes sense. Perfect, thanks.
Cool.
Anyone else got any questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Christian.
No problem.
And then at this stage, I will hand over to Leon. Unmute you, Leon. I think you have to unmute yourself as well.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Yes, thanks for that, guys. I think this is a great idea. So I know quite a lot of faces in this group, so I should make it a little bit easier. But do feel free to tear the deck apart. I think fundraising in this period is going to be extremely difficult for everyone, so we need to get the best shot possible. I'm going to share the deck now with you. Okay, so hopefully you can see the deck.
Yep, that's come through.
Okay, sweet. All right, cool. So I will begin. So yeah, we are Miner. The science behind the appliance stands for My Machine. And this is the team currently furloughed. You won't be able to meet any of them because we can't afford to keep them on. So we're leveraging government to do that for us. But it is a pretty sound team. We've been together. Lewis has been with us since the start, but around 7 years we've been together. This is my 4th startup, 15 years startup experience. And yeah, we're driving a force pretty powerful at the moment. So let me tell you why we did this. Does anyone have a washing machine? Likely. Okay, so it turns out a lot of people have washing machines, dishwashers, dryers, freezers, and they do break. Unfortunately, they're not like a car where they can give you a warning. They just break. And so that means they can break at a really inconvenient time. And it happens to 30,000 people every single day, which costs the manufacturers $1 billion, right? A load of money. And they actually don't know who you are because the machines are usually bought from AO.com or Currys or Dixon's. So you don't buy it from Electrolux or Bosch. So what did we think? So actually, being a dad of 2 kids, our washing machine is always on, and it did recently break down. And the problem with it breaking down is that you have to run around like trying to fix it. So like ringing the manufacturer, I don't know, I've never spoken to them before in 5 years. So who do I call? Where's the manual? And then of course now, I have to go to the laundrette. So I have to use my 1 exercise a day to take my laundry to the laundrette, which, it's not practical, especially in this time, in these times. So what have we done? Well, I wouldn't advise you read this because it's painful to read on slides, but I'll tell you. So we've leveraged our 7 years Internet of Things company into what we've got today. And we are the first company to innovate fault detecting, consumer connecting, turnkey solution for the home appliance manufacturers. It's got a real rhythm to it. So we're B2B, we're not B2B, we're not B2C, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that. The manufacturer pays for everything, and it's usually on an annual SaaS fee. So some of you might remember me or recognize me from Wi-Fi plug. That's
my microphone has just turned off. Okay. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Still here, yeah.
Okay. Don't know what's happened there. Yeah, so some of you might recognize me from Wi-Fi plug. What we do with this is a smart plug that we built from scratch, and we have shipped over 30,000 units. This is a B2C company, so we've experienced exactly what customers want when it comes to setting up smart hardware. And what happens, this is plugged into the back of your washing machine. Oh, you can't see it, of course, because I'm in my BBC conference room. So this is plugged into the back of your washing machine and then connected to the manufacturer. So once we get that, the manufacturer gets a nice fancy dashboard that we built them. It basically gives them access for the first time ever to their customers, to their appliances, gives them a God's eye view of every single appliance in the field, and then they can start to monetize it. So I said the manufacturer pays for it, so they need to get their money back. And they do this by understanding users, demographics, customer consumption, and then upselling other products within their appliance range. So if we use Bosch, for example, they might sell you a coffee machine a bit later down the line. But the most important thing is here that we're able to detect faults using the smart plug. It has a patented smart meter inside it that's able to yield 50 events per second. No other smart plug on the planet can do that. In fact, Belkin Wemo, which is, I guess, the industry leader, can only yield 1 event per second. So a 5-hour wash, we get 1 million pieces of data. A Belkin Wemo would get 18,000. So you can see we can do a lot with that data. But the end user, there has to be some incentive for you to use it. Well, look, you get to give the unsung heroes in the home a voice. So for the first time ever, your washing machine can speak to you, let you know that the wash is finished, let you know how much it costs to run that wash. Also quite useful information if you're trying to save the pennies during the COVID-19 crisis, and give you real-time notifications that a fault has been detected. So this is world first stuff here, people. So who wins? Well, luckily both. The manufacturers start to get see a reduction in calls because their customer service, a lot of it's now handled within the app. So the faults are handled, predictive maintenance is handled, and of course they get to sell their products. The end user gets real-time support. It doesn't cost them anything, and they get to get a discount on purchases and warranty in the future. So let's talk about washing machines and dryers. Does anyone have one? Yes, 10 billion people have them. And these are 10 billion right now in the field that have no voice, so no connection, no way of telling anybody that they're about to break. And inevitably they all will, all 10 billion of them will break, but nobody knows when. And so our goal is to connect these appliances on a daily basis with the engineers going out to 30,000 homes. We have already done trials and we know that 1 in 10 will connect to our service. So that's 3,000 connections per day, yielding 5 million in 4.5 years, which shows 80 million in revenue. And by the way, we can't contact 10 billion people, but luckily the manufacturers, there's only a small pool of them. There's only 100 major domestic appliance manufacturers, and we've already started speaking to them. In fact, not only have we started speaking to them, but we started pilots with them. So the brands that you might recognize up here, Electrolux, Bosch, Neff, AG, we're doing pilots in real time with them right now. The last 12 months, we've received over 250,000 from them. And when the pilots turn bigger into more commercial, it represents 80 million in revenue just from these 2 companies that own a lot of sub-brands that you might have heard of. We're also working with Procter & Gamble, who wants to do Alexa notifications for market research. So when the wash finishes, Alexa tells you the wash is finished, and then you give real-time feedback on a scale of 1 to 10, how white were your whites? This is changing the market research industry on its head, and we're the ones to do it. And so how do we detect faults in appliances? Well, it's all through the smart meter on the back of the plug. It shows real-time consumption, and we can see every single appliance has a different digital signature. So you can see on the top, the washing machine looks different to the one below. That's a dishwasher. They tend to all look the same, but we can dial into that frequency right down to, we can divide a second into 50 pieces of information. So really, really start to, we can hear a digital pin drop. So a solenoid breaking, a pump breaking, a belt snapping, power cut, overloaded, we can see it all. So the science behind the appliance is basically 7 years of graft. Like, we tried to raise as a smart home company. No one was touching us. Nobody backs hardware. We get that. So we've moved more into software and just used the plug as a gateway for the data. We've leveraged our 40,000 hours of cloud infrastructure that we've already built. So you're not backing that. You're not investing in hardware. You're not investing in cloud. You're really just investing in the upside that when one pilot turns into a commercial, you would 10x your investment straight away. So I mentioned competition. There are other smart plugs out there. That's not really our focus, to be honest. This is just a way of getting the data. But it just so happens that our smart plug is the best on the planet. So that super helps. None of them have open API. Even to this day, we've been selling them for 7 years, and nobody gives developers the ability to code or read information from plugs. And the patented energy meter really sets us apart. So predictive maintenance is the big one. This is what the manufacturers buy into. This is why they use us. The ability to send real-time notifications using our machine learning with our data scientists from the University of Leeds. We currently get 60 million pieces of information, well, there's 60 million in what's it called? Models. I don't know. I'm not a data scientist, clearly. But if you want to speak to one, you have to wait till he's off furlough. So what are we doing today? Well, we're retrofitting with the hardware, and tomorrow we want to embed the SDK, so licensing it to the manufacturers, because hardware is hard. It's really, I don't like it at all. I wish I never did it, but we are quite deep, so we have to keep going. And then the future is AS, so appliance as a service. This is really exciting. This is kind of, if we weren't where we were today, we would just be launching with the AS model, but we need the data, so it's a chicken and egg thing. But ultimately, we're going to give you a machine for free, and you're just going to pay per spin, per wash, per cycle. So it's like a line bike or a scooter or an Uber. You pay as you go. This is brilliant for millennials and Gen X who are about to get hit with the depression, but also when they do finally move and they realize they get hit with £3,000 worth of CapEx costs, where you can negate all of that by paying 20 pence per wash. So what are we doing? We're fundraising. We've already been through Techstars. It was fantastic. We've been on loads of accelerators, actually. It's quite tedious. But we have raised 400,000 already. This is exciting for us because the money was already signed before COVID hit, which means that that is actually already in the bank. So we're quite lucky in that respect, because a lot of my founder friends that are raising now are, let's put it bluntly. So yeah, we can probably live for the next year on the 400K, but if anyone has any chunk change kicking about, we're after another 800. And yeah, AS is kind of what I told you about, but that I believe is the disruptor in this market. I think it's going to change the world, and we're the ones to drive it. So thank you. There was a video that won't work. This is the proof that I'm not bullshitting you. Like, we do actually have paying customers. Yeah, thanks for your time. I welcome any questions.
Cool. Thanks, Leon. Oh, Dan. Oh.
I'll mute ourselves. Hey, Leon.
Hi.
I think you answered one of my questions in that you said you want to basically be the de facto standard generally for this. But obviously, how do you go about what needs to happen between now and I'm not even looking at the right camera. I'm looking at you guys, and you'll be like here. What needs to happen between now and getting an embedded device in their piece of hardware? What are the kind of, what's the life cycle for that to go from, yeah, we love it, it's a brilliant piece of kit, it's going to be, it's going to be the standard, because we're already getting Wi-Fi enabled washing machines and all kinds of stuff, but they usually, the stuff you can do with them is just bullshit. It's pointless, meaningless. What's the steps? How long do you think it's going to take for you to get your first embedded device?
Good question. So look, it's all about data and proving it and validating that this is worthwhile. So we're currently using the retrofit because it's cheap. It's 15 quid for the hardware. So that's a really easy test sample to send out onto those machines. But with regards to answering like when can we embed, technically we have the SDK right now that we could mount onto a board and put into a machine and sell it today. But the manufacturers that we're speaking to, they're so high risk, they won't just throw it. They need the proof points. So they need to see that A, this like works on scale, B, that the customers are buying into it.
Okay, can I ask another question while I've got you on? So obviously you said about the predictive maintenance side, and we actually, myself and Simon, know somebody who works on does a similar thing with a piece of kit for big scale industrial machines. So literally just using power consumption to track the heartbeat of each particular machine and what it does. With the predictive maintenance stuff, are you modeling it over time to the point where you're basically saying with a level of percentage confidence, engineer is en route, I can tell you within a level of confidence what's wrong with that machine before they even get there?
Yeah, so so far we can predict 5 issues. Overloading, so if you put like a brick or like loads of bricks in your washing machine, we would be able to see that straight away. Overdosing, so if you put too much soap in your wash, some people still don't use tabs, they like pour it in. What happens there is the rinse cycle spins like perpetually, so we can pick that up. We also do the pump wear. So what we have is, I see what you're saying, if we had a baseline from day one, we could detect the fault far easier, far quicker, but we don't. So we have to use the customer's baseline and then watch for anomalies inside that. So yeah, the pump, for example, is a really good one. You can see granular changes, really small changes, and that's the pump working harder because the filter's blocked. And so that might take 6 months for it to snap or break something, but we can see a gradual increase, and then we alert the engineer, a month into it when we're sure we're seeing changes inside that.
Brilliant. Yeah, it sounds really good. I'd say I love that sort of stuff. Yeah, fascinating.
I'd like to be connected with the guys that are doing it in IIoT as well, because it can't hurt to know those people too.
Oh yeah, no, it's one guy. He's actually an entrepreneur that we before. He was the guy who won pitch at the Palace a few years ago with the water filter thing. He was one of our guys. It's his current thing that he's working on.
Oh, cool. Okay.
He did a thing you put into your taps that changes it to steam, basically. But yeah, fascinating guy. He knows he's an engineer, an automation guy. So yeah, I'll hook you up. He'd love to have a chat.
Sweet, thank you.
Cool. I think
Christian
and Richard as well. Richard, did you have a? Can I just unmute you, Richard? There you go.
Okay. Hi. Well done, Leon. My question was around privacy. Have you hit any bump around that? The people kick back and say, no, I don't want anything reading my washing machine and sending my data out. Have you had any of those kind of comments?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good question. And so we've already been out in the field with this pilot, and Electrolux. So firstly, everything is GDPR compliant. We mount the data on their own tenant, so we don't have access to that direct data. But I know what you mean about, well, people sending their faults. So what it is it's really about, it's like this. So it's a bit hard on the sales, but they go out there, they charge them £100 to fix it. And then they say, right, with this gadget, we can tell you when it's going to break. And the next time we come out to fix it, it will be free. Are you interested? And so they're kind of like, they have to weigh up the price of £100, I guess, versus giving away their data. So there's nothing else like being done with the data. We're not flogging it or competing with the others. So, but it is a valid point, and it does, some people would say no straight away, they're like, not interested. Okay.
My other question was, how low an investment can you take? Or
well, we've closed 400, and that's just, we're doing like a rolling close, because I don't want to say no to money, but at the same time, it can be done. Look, anything can be done. I bootstrapped all my companies from scratch over 15 years. It's nice to put a dangling carrot of 1.2 million, but if you don't get the 1.2 million, you just scale down your roadmap and your milestones. So with 400K, we can absolutely get there. It's just, it would have been nicer to, close the deal at 1.2.
So my question was, for instance, if any of us wants to invest, what's the minimum you take from us?
Oh, the check size?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question. I mean, I should say, like, right now, I shouldn't be looking a gift horse in the mouth, so 10 quid would be nice. But the admin and the paperwork, it's probably got to be like, 50K. Okay. And also, you're not going to get much of a return if you put anything less in. If you put £1,000 in, you would get 0.01%. So I guess it doesn't make sense.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. Christian, do you have another question?
I do. Okay, so my question, you've probably got a pretty strong answer for this. And, you know, I think the business is brilliant, really good. So my question is in regards to the strain on the router from the Wi-Fi plugs. Now, I know at home, if I've got friends over or whatever, and everyone's connected to the Wi-Fi, suddenly Netflix stops working. You know, so if I've got my dishwasher, TV, my dishwasher, my washing machine, whatever it may be, all plugged in, all feed into the router, how much strain is that going to have?
Yeah, good question. So look, it's all about bandwidth and packets. So all this is sending is zeros on like very small packets of data. And in fact, it doesn't send the million data points in one go, or it doesn't send 50 events a second. It doesn't do that. We've got a chip on the plug that has its own modeling on it, so its own machine learning. So it actually only sends about 10%. We can dial it up or down, but ultimately an entire 5-hour wash cycle would send less than 1 megabyte of data. And you could watch Netflix for 1 second and have used 50 megabytes. So they don't really compare. But yeah, a good question around connected appliances, connected things. Your router can typically handle 99 before it starts going a bit weird. So I guess if you have 99 fridges and dishwashers, that's where you would struggle, but not any point before that.
Oh, Dan?
So yeah, on that, I guess I think I know the answer is to this, given that you hate hardware. But is there a version of this where you create the home monitoring hub for all devices, and you just connect up individual devices within the house, and you have a single platform? Basically, that's the B2C version of this. Do you want to do the B2C version?
No.
Fair enough. Good,
Yeah,
good answer. Yeah.
Honestly, BT is horrendous. And even actually the worst thing, so being through Techstars, we get updated all the time. B2C, sadly for anyone who's in that market right now, they're anticipating that 50% of those companies will hit the wall, because what really happens is people are job security, like looking at that, not spending money on stuff like this. And there is a company out there, by the way, if you want to Google it, called Sense, S-E-N-C, S-E, whatever. And it's a clamp and it goes around your house. And it can read all of the appliances, but it can't detect faults. It can just say there's a washing machine going on there and there's a kettle going on there, which is useful, I guess, but who's buying it? Like, the manufacturer is buying the data from us and it's of value to them. So as it stands, I desperately want to steer away from hardware. And in the future, when we overlay our SDK into the AS model, all we will do is lease the washing machines from a leasing company and put this, by the way, can't happen over Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is too unreliable because for 2 reasons. One, the end user is reliant on connecting it, so they have to put in their Wi-Fi password. So we're going to use NB-IoT 5G, and that's coming, but it's not here yet. And plus, we're not ready to deploy that. And secondly, that would be a Series A of around 10 million investment. We couldn't do it on 400K. Yeah. So yeah, we're steering clear of hardware down, and I would advise anyone to do the same.
It's interesting. The other thing I was going to say actually as well is you mentioned AO.com. So and the beautifully named AS model for later, which is it's interesting because I bought a succession of products from AO.com purely because the first one they were able to deliver next day within a time slot that I wanted about 5 years ago, and that was the differentiator. I'm on that thing where they phone you up like the day that you buy something, and they ask you to sign up for the maintenance contract where you don't pay anything. But also when you come to the end of life of the product, they replace it with another one for free as long as you carry on paying on the same system. So I basically flattened my cost to a rental cost of about £10 a month or something like that till the end of time. So it is a thing. And so I didn't even know that was a thing. They don't publicize it as basically Bright House in AO's version of Bright House, which is what it is. Do you think that that's going to come back round? Do you think that's going to be everywhere?
That's a really good. So I was thinking Bright House when you were saying it. Basically, this is Bright House without the shit going into it. So there's no like APR. Ultimately, every single wash is of value to that manufacturer. So when they're getting that data, they can make huge R&D changes, huge cost-saving exercises. Like it's paramount to them. So we need to just get as much data as possible. Now, with regards to like competition and AO doing stuff like that, like charging you monthlies, we will be cheaper, a lot cheaper. Now, they are that business model. The business model has to stack up. So we would, for example, struggle to. It's a bit like a credit, but credit report. If you were a young professional living by yourself, you would maybe only do 1 wash a week, right? But if you're a family of 4, you would be doing 5 washes a week. And so there's a balance there between how we charge and where the revenue comes in. And doing a flat line like you're paying right now, there will be an element of that. There will have to be fixed costs in there because there's server fees, there's call centers and whatever. So it might be, this model hasn't even been worked out. It's far too far away. Before we get that data, we can't make that decision. But we're on it. And you're right, there is just a flat rate paying £10. But if you were to go on holiday or furlough yourself in a different house, you would not really be loving the fact that you were paying.
No, exactly. It's the mobile phone. What it is, it's the mobile phone model because mobile phones are the same price as washing machines now. So somebody looked at it and went, hey, let's get people to buy one up front and then, at the highest cost we can. And then we'll get them to pay for another one. And then, hey, there's a pot of money available. So it is the same. It's the same model. I don't love it. But I'm not Captain Pay As You Go, if you know what I mean. I'm a bit more, I like a thing, but then I'm from the 70s, so what are you gonna do?
But that's the crucial difference. You're from the 70s and now wait 10 years when everyone was born as a Gen Zer, and they're like, everything is penny pinching.
I don't want to pay for this giant thing. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so we'll watch the landscape. I agree. We just buy all of our stuff up front, and if not up front on credit card, but that's not the right way to do it. And there's better ways to spend your money. So this is just something we're looking at. I'm hugely excited about it. It's the disruption, kind of like the next Uber, because it's going to hit a lot of machine appliance manufacturers. Their biggest industry revolution was going from top loading to front loading washing machines in the 70s, and people still talk about that I meet. They're like, yeah, that wasn't that cool when that happened. I was like, are you kidding me? Shut up. So this is going to really blow a lot of them out the water.
I've got a question.
Yes.
So, you said you've raised 400, which is great, and you're looking for 1.2 ideally. So what would you be doing with that money? Let's say it landed on Monday. What would you be doing with that amount of money? Because I would love to raise that kind of cash, but I wouldn't be able to spend it quick enough, I don't think.
Well, you have to spend it quick enough or they won't give you it. So you've got to show that you're getting rid of it around about 60, 70K a month. So all it is staff. That's the majority, the lion's share. In fact, I don't know if you saw the slide of exactly how we're splitting it. I can pull it back up, but where are we? Yeah, so 50% is payroll. I mean, I don't need to show you the slide. It's 50% is payroll, 30% is marketing. We're a disruptor here, so we've got to tell everyone what we've got. It's expensive. I've been through this with Wi-Fi plug. When no one knows about it, you have to spend quite a bit. I mean, the landscape's changed a bit. This was based on going to trade shows around the world. That might just be Zooming now. It might just zoom in with a washing machine. And then selling, the cost of selling and G&A. So it can easily be done, but it can easily be dialed up or down. Just the same way any startup that raises any amount of money, all they're doing is they just bring in more people, more bodies. Not necessarily the right thing to do, but you have to spend the investors' money or they won't back you on the next round.
And so are you building, is a lot of that team going to be salespeople or developers or both?
Yeah, I've got that here actually. So currently we're massively overweight with developers and no sales. So we will try and balance everything, but definitely with our bottleneck is still development. So there's just so much data coming in and there's so many models to be made and you need more data, but to get the data, you need more salesmen to get the contracts. So chicken and egg, but that's right. It's a 50-50 around sales and dev.
Very good. All right. Okay, well, I think we are coming around to it being an hour, so that's actually really good timing. Just really quickly, whilst everyone's here, obviously this is the first one we've done. It would be good to know your thoughts if you think moving forward it would be useful to have a platform like this where we can have different people, and depending on how long, we could extend it potentially. It depends on how many people want to pitch. We can be strict on how long people get to pitch and how long Q&A is, etc. But it'd be good to hear, do you think it's useful? moving forward? And also, do you know anyone that'd be interested in pitching, including cats? Oh my God! Sorry, yeah, I'm going to try and unmute everyone now, and hopefully it won't go crazy. There we go. Right, everyone.
Do it again.
Everyone's unmuted, I think. Yes. What do you think?
But yeah, okay. I mean, I think this is really good. I'd certainly tune in. One thing that Leon said that I was interested in was just about the rolling close. I'm just about to close my funding round now. I've had an investor drop out yesterday, obviously for the current time. So knowing just picking that little thing up for me is definitely worthwhile. Seeing this and the variation of business. I've done a lot of pitching events where I've gone out physically and I've gone and pitched to X amount of people, but you're also sharing the room with other businesses, and that's a great part of networking and getting to hear new ideas and thoughts.
Okay, cool.
I agree. I think if you walk away with one nugget for an hour, it's worth it. It doesn't matter where you are. If you just get one thing, I'll just drop Seed Legal, by the way, if anyone's not heard of it. If you've got a cap table or some contracts to write, just go on Seed Legal. It's like $10 a month, and it's brilliant, and it's backed by VCs and stuff. So, and you can also do your rolling close in that too.
Yeah, we've used Seed Legals as well, and I would also recommend it. Absolutely brilliant platform. Well worth it.
Hi, this is good. I follow Dan a lot on LinkedIn, and I've always wanted to go towards some of your stuff. And I live in Manchester, and you guys are in Leeds, and it's always a struggle. So I think this is good. It's good to build the network and also hear about people's stuff. Leon, your product is great. I wish I had 50K immediately. I'll be chucking it in, but hopefully soon. And I run a few startups, two actually, which is crazy enough. Not making money, but I'll probably come pitch soon. But I've known a few people, and I'll try and drag them in. So please organize other ones, and this is great. If this could be an ongoing thing, I know it's a lot of hassle organizing stuff, but even if it's once a month, but this is good.
It's a lot less hassle than the physical version of this.
Yeah.
I know for sure. I know for sure.
Well, that we thought of when we were talking about this before is obviously we have a problem in the north mixing with people who are pitching from the south. The further north from where we are. And actually, with what we've got now, there's a huge pool of people. If you live in Leeds and you run events in Leeds, you see the same people pitching over and over again a lot. And because they do the circuit, and that's great, But there's a free opportunity with online things like this to get somebody from the south to pitch to people from the north, and vice versa. So I think if you know anybody who is like, oh, I met these guys down in Birmingham and they're amazing, but we're not going to come up to an event because it's expensive. Whereas this, come in for 10 minutes and do that. So anybody you know further afield, chuck them away.
I'll pull them in, especially the guys I know in Manchester. But yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, even the Pennines is like, it might as well be an impenetrable wall for most of the events that we run. So
cool.
All right, thanks, Richard.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm Bilal here, and
Bilal.
I'm a web developer and working in a startups here and there. So it was lovely to join you guys. I think it was definitely interesting to see how the building startup works. So definitely we're going to join again.
Thank you very much. All right.
I'm going to have to scoot off either way. So
yes, well, I think we'll wrap up there. So thanks everyone for joining. Obviously, thanks to Christian and to Leon for pitching. It's it was really great, and hopefully we're planning on doing the next one, I think, in 2 weeks. Hopefully see you guys again in a couple of weeks, and have a great weekend.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.